Hey everybody, and welcome to another Age of Grogu, and I've got with me Emmanuel, Angelo, and Julie.
What
And
up?
yeah, how you doing, guys?
Good, man. How you doing, brother?
Good.
Good.
How are
I've
you?
uh, I've been enjoying the Acolyte. I've been enjoying what's going on. I figured tonight we didn't get the chance to catch up last week because of Fourth of July, so we'll do the back to back with episode 6 and episode 7, and I guess we'll do it in two halves, and we'll break it down and talk about it. So let's backtrack. Let's get our heads back around episode 5 and get your thoughts. Episode 5, of course, had some very infamous scenes dealing with our Venestra and the Light Whip, and little moments like, well, you know.
Oh, episode 6?
This is like
Yeah,
five. It's like,
yeah.
wait, that was
Sorry.
yeah.
Or was this episode? It's 5, right?
No,
Yes.
6.
Oh, that
Episode
was 6.
6. Episode 6.
This was episode 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, that was episode 6. Episode
Yeah.
5 was the yeah.
The
Wow.
slaughter.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. We're back. Yes. Yeah. That was episode 6. So we had some interesting stuff go down. We were dealing with the information on the Quartus mask, referring to the actual alloy that's used to kind of, that we saw block out a lightsaber blade for a period of time. I didn't know anything about this prior to episode 5 going into episode 6 until I read up about it, that this obviously existed in some of the books and stuff like that. I want to kind of throw out kind of a random question, guys. What's your thought on the actual idea of bringing this into live action with the Quartus? Quartus? I can't pronounce it.
Cortosis?
Cortosis. Thank you. Cortosis. Thank you. As an actual physical thing.
I think it's cool. I think honestly it's cool. It's I think it was in Legends. That's what it was in. But I think it's an interesting thing material to bring in for sure, especially versus somebody that's a lightsaber wielder.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the comic with Vader when Vader was
I
fighting
haven't.
Jedi.
No.
Yeah, Vader was fighting Jedi, and they used the Cortosis blade, and they short circuited his lightsaber, but he didn't need it. He ended up killing the person, taking their blade, and started killing all the other Jedi. So
As
I think
Vader should.
yeah, exactly. I think
Yeah.
I think it's cool. It's just very brittle. That's
Right.
just the metal is very brittle.
They also hinted to that in the episode.
Yeah.
Angela, what's your thoughts there on the idea
It's,
of bringing
yeah, it's always
Quartus in?
great seeing stuff like from Legends and stuff being canonized. Like,
Yeah.
it's always you always please fans with that. Like, they'll be like, "Let's
Yeah.
go!"
Oh,
That
absolutely.
thing.
Yeah. Julie?
That's how like a lot of people
Yeah.
were like,
Oh, yeah.
responding to it.
Yeah, no, people have been. Yeah. And Julie?
No, I think it's cool too, just seeing that there's something that can stop a lightsaber. We're so
I
used to
agree.
how lightsabers can just cut through everything, except with
Yeah.
Beskar. That's the only thing we've seen so far. But
Right.
aside from other energy sources, but so this, I'm always open to seeing the Jedi being humbled. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you brought up the Beskar. It's like, yeah, we've got this great kind of totally different type of element. One that's designed to deflect like a lightsaber, which is, really cool. I always like the idea of the Beskar, but then the other that is obviously going to just short out and distract a Jedi for a short period of time. Basically, from what I could pick up on the information here, the actual planet that they were on could be, and they never kind of officially announced it, could be a planet called Baldemiac. I think I pronounced that right. Which is also referring and kind of leading into the whole Darth Plagueis
That'll be
love with
interesting.
her. Was it deal with the? Yeah, basically it says here in the middle of this whole sentence here, it says like unknown knowledge of the planet's rich deposits of cortosis, and they did specifically, obviously, we saw this hint
the
that the
ore.
cortosis was in the rock in the cave, which also kind of sets up that whole thing about that planet definitely isn't what we see in the
Last
at the
Jedi.
end. Last Jedi, yeah, Last
Oh
Jedi.
yeah. Because I know people were saying that's the same planet Luke
Yeah.
was on.
Correct, yeah, and it definitely is not that, and I think even the showrunners kind of stepped up and said that as well. Before we go any further, what did we think of episode 5? I meant, We had a lot of moments. Six. Oh my god. What did we think of episode 6? Wow, we're dealing with episode 6. Yeah, 7.
I think episode 6 was cool. It was another slow pace episode.
Yeah.
The tension between Osha and Kamir was interesting. I can sense the sexual tension with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just very blatant, and I feel like he's gonna try to slowly convert her, but at the same time, it's just like I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna. I mean, we only have one more episode left, so it's just like honestly, I don't know where they're gonna go with it, bro. Honestly, don't know.
Yeah. Angelo, thoughts on the episode?
I mean, yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree. It's not like more setup kind of like episode, more slow paced. We kind of get to see more of just like how they're reacting to what just happened. Because it was a big episode, and like those big episodes, we're just coming off some really big episodes, and it's just more just like coming down from that, just more explaining everyone's like reaction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joey, yeah.
I think it was cool seeing the dynamic between Osha and Chimera.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. His interest in her is very interesting. The intentions.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's different the way we've seen other Sith kind of try to seduce a potential apprentice. Maul tried to do that with Ezra Bridger. We've got Count Dooku trying to do that. Show his seduction techniques with General Kenobi. We see in Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah.
We get all these moments of seeing how they would seduce, and I just like the fact that Chimera's ways seducing Osha is very, very different. And you're right, there was definitely kind of that sexual kind of tension that
man, she was looking all at the package,
Yeah, and there was. I mean, where is it at? Here we go. Yeah, this one was. I mean, it was just interesting that they would put this kind of beautiful kind of pool lake and all this sort of stuff, and that they would use, obviously, his body and that sort of stuff as that kind of element. But there was a whole lot of women, and I'm guessing some men that kind of came out that were like seduced by the dark side of the Force. A lot of people just seem to really connect to the Chimera.
He is the best character. He's the best character in the show for sure.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, he's definitely a very interesting character, and I think it's again you just you see it between between his the slight seduction, the slight talking, and then the fighting techniques are completely like erratic and spontaneous, I think, too, which is kind of fun to see.
Even like in itself too, him just kind of being so bare and vulnerable in front of her is almost intimidating, and also showing a form of like dominance as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's really strangely but also uniquely portrayed, especially in Star Wars. Like I wouldn't have expected it to be like that.
Yeah. The other interesting thing was obviously the scar on his back and his mentioning of his master, an old Jedi master, and he also hinted that he's quite old. And there's a couple of things that come to mind about that. Obviously, the idea of the Sith looking for ways to keep young and be immortal, kind of thing. At least age differently was an interesting thing that was played in that thing. But there was also the idea and the possibility that Venestra very well could be his old Jedi master. And do we have any thoughts on that? Do we think that's a reality? Do we think that's...
because the whip.
Because of the
very
whip,
interesting, like wavy scar. It's a wavy scar. So yeah, I mean, I could see that theory. Yeah, how the scar is like kind of like snakes a little bit at the bottom.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, so it's like,
but it almost
like how we already. You could go.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say it also almost looks like a lightning strike too, like maybe force lightning or something.
Yeah.
And also, like what we know about the whip is like when it's like in whip form, it does like less, like it hurts. It doesn't do as much damage. So
really?
Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So really? Like, okay.
Yeah, that's like a thing because like it's faster and stuff, but like it doesn't do as much damage.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Cut, but that's just like it's not as strong.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was effective. Let's talk about Venestra just for that moment. So Venestra gets pulled down to the planet, and she uses the lightsaber whip and takes out one of the bugs. Any thoughts? Yeah,
that was cool. It was cool to see. Yeah,
it was cool to see. Yeah, I admit.
It happened so fast though. You had to like blink and you missed.
That's
it.
what I'm saying.
Wish there was more. Yeah.
We had to see more.
It was kind of just a little
bam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Julie. Go, Julie.
I was gonna say, like, regarding that scene, it kind of answered one of my questions from the previous episode of like, why did they just leave the bodies there without saying anything? So I'm glad they went back for Jesse Ford and unnamed Jedi.
Yeah,
they came to pack them all up and stuff. Yeah,
I don't know. I honestly feel like the Jedi in this day and age, they're all incompetent. Like the guy that was with them, that was with Vanessa. I feel like what was he doing, bro?
You meant Mog?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, granted, he's in like. Why are the Padawans or the young Jedi who had just become Jedi Knights a little odd and a little weird? And I was sitting and questioning myself on that because they definitely are more immature. We see this obviously in Tobin as well, in episode 7. But we get this whole concept that they were not really all kind of. They weren't serious. The Jedi were not serious back in this time, it feels like. There was the training, there was the skills, but serious for a greater threat they didn't see coming.
Yeah. They were too comfortable. Yeah.
They were, exactly, yeah. Because
there was nothing really going on, so they were just chilling.
Yeah. And they did come out of a big war 100 years earlier or whatever with the Nile and all that, and so that, again, you think would have roughed them up a little bit, but it's also showing how laxed that they are, that we're getting this kind of Jedi Padawan coming out from all this, who's questioning, obviously, but very different to the Jedi Padawans we saw, by the time we reached the Clone Wars, because the Clone Wars, they, as Ahsoka had put at one point, they're all fighters at that point. They come out, they're bred to be fighters. Yeah. These guys are definitely not fighters, and it shows. And again, that goes to production of how good that they thought this process through, as to how they were going to approach things like the Jedi under the Padawans and all that. Any thoughts there or anything?
Yeah, it's kind of like a cycle that we're kind of like. It's kind of cycles like they're fighters, then they transition more to the peacekeepers, and then they start getting lax. Then they're getting too lax, and then war again. They become fighters. Yeah, it's like a little circle. Yeah, cycle.
But it definitely felt odd though. Yeah. And then of course you mentioned about them picking up the Jedi. And then we get these two massive shots of like just they really just like they wanted to. They had to rub it in.
I'm surprised that no animal took their body and ate it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, because it would have been at least a day or two before Vanestra went.
They're all cold.
Yeah, but it is interesting. I mean, Vanestra, dealing. I think it was this episode where she was like, there was a conversation going on. Actually, it might have been the one before with. That's the other thing that's going on. The political side of things is just starting to heat up with the Jedi and the political elements too, which is also kind of interesting to see.
They're worried about saving face for the Senate.
That's it.
Worrying about actual dangers. Like, they're like,
So Vanestra not really mentioning to anybody outside of a couple of them. That's it. Yeah, of her mission and his mission and this and that. It's interesting. I wish there was a bit more explanation. Not explanation. I feel like I want to see more about that side of it, because we are getting little moments, which is fair enough. But I feel like this would help also to kind of
more
show
exposition.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the episodes should be longer, man. These episodes are only 30 minutes.
Most of them are, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot. I think like 4, because how much was Ahsoka? Ahsoka was like mostly 45 minutes.
40 to 40, 42 minutes roughly to 45,
Yeah, we have to have at least, like, this last episode should be an hour and 30 minutes. I feel like in order to wrap everything
this
up.
This episode that just came out was around 40 minutes too.
Yeah. By the time you take out the credits and everything.
No, it was like 30
I think it's
minutes.
listed like 42.
It's 12 minutes of credits.
Yeah.
12 minutes of credits.
Oh yeah, that too.
So
Yeah.
it's like 30
12
minutes.
minutes?
I think
Is
it's
it
12
12
minutes of
actually?
credits.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's long.
Because like shows with like on HBO Max, like House of the Dragon, all these like they
Hour.
have 8 episodes
sure.
too, but they're an hour long. Like you could
Yeah,
easily do that.
Yeah.
You know, that also makes me question as to how much deleted footage, if any, that they've got. I mean, you know, is there additional footage in it, you know, scenes? And it does question as to why they cut some of this down, because I do feel like I need a little bit more in each episode, and that I definitely agree with. And a lot of people seem to be, you know, having that as a complaint about the show, is that they do want to know a little bit more, and there needs to be a bit more lead into certain things. In this particular...
Oh, sorry.
No, go.
I was going to say, I think that's what it comes down to in the end, is that they have like, okay, they have a vision, and it's the same thing we saw with the sequels. It's like, okay, we have this idea, but when it comes time to bring it out to everybody, they get a little scared and they start making cuts and rewrites.
Yeah.
And then what we end up getting is stuff that's a little chip choppy and kind of a little bit of plot holes, but it's still presentable. But we could have had something a lot more.
Yeah. And once in a while, you feel like there's stuff that is just missing, and not on purpose, but it feels like we are missing just an extended scene that could help set a character's development a little more, I think, in this show.
Yeah, that's why a lot of these movies are like 3 hours now, like the Batman and like Oppenheimer. Yeah. A lot of these movies are starting to have longer run times in order for more character development, exposition, and plot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think they should for sure do that with TV shows.
Yeah.
For Osha being one of the main characters in the show, I feel like is the most underdeveloped character.
I do agree. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I
agree.
Osha's my least favorite character. She hasn't literally done nothing the whole series.
Yeah.
And she's supposed to be in the main. Honestly, I feel like May is the more protagonist. I feel like May has got more screen time than Osha.
Yeah. You're right, yeah. I mean, and it's obviously they're kind of building up to Osha turning, I'm going to assume, to be the apprentice, or the acolyte, obviously, in this case as well. And I think it's a nice twist, but it's also kind of, you know, there's a lot going on there. Sorry, just checking.
I want to see how they do it. I want to see.
I do.
We got one more episode. I don't know how long. I don't know. And I mean, I don't want to say any rumors, but
you better be at least decently like lengthwise, because there's still so much to answer, and then the pacing has to be just right. It better be like at least 45 minutes. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I agree. I'm just trying to figure out this. I mean, there's not a huge amount of stuff, you know, that really happened outside of some really, I thought, really good scenes between Chimera and May going on there. But I did want to mention these little guys, the Skara, which is
creatures.
Yeah, they're called SKURA, Skara, I think it's called. I thought they were just really cool puppets. Part anteater, part duck was the design concept behind them. But it's always cool. I mean, I always love when they can do practical stuff like that. And I think that's one of the cool things with, you know, stuff shot in England. We do see a lot of practical small animals that tend to be used, and puppets, and they're not afraid to use any of that, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Isn't Basil also like a little bit puppeteer as well?
Yeah,
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a bodysuit / animatronic head / CG enhancement around the eyes. And then I forgot that we did actually. We didn't get. Did we get Basil in this? Oh yeah, we did get Basil in this right at the very end, right?
He's just running around.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hang on a sec. Here we go. Yes. Basil and May. Actually, we never talked about that little part there on the ship between Sol and May. Because there was that whole sequence. Sorry, I'm trying to think back 2 weeks ago. It was obvious to me that Sol kind of recognized this as being May from the beginning.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about this?
I feel like at first his mind was clouded, but then he realized it was May, and he was like waiting for her to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason why he didn't immediately do anything because I guess he wanted to feel her out because he did want to tell her what happened, talk to her about what happened.
Yeah.
I think that, well, this kind of goes back like to watching episode 7 and also getting answers, but in 7, them mentioning that the girls come from the same entity, and even then, Soul confuses May with Osha. I genuinely believe that he did think that was Osha, but her mannerisms gave her away. I don't think it was necessarily present.
Yeah, I mean, it was very evident by the time he was talking. Oh, sorry. No, go for it, Angela.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I was gonna agree with Julie. It's like how I think he did believe that she was Osha because like especially like the part with like talking about Pip.
Yeah.
Is like and like I was like you see like you're so kind like you like treat like that droid on her side as like a human. Yeah. But then, like, just like the scene before that, we just saw her. She killed Pip.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically, yeah. I mean,
he has more personality.
Yeah.
Pip.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the end of Pip at this point. I mean,
because it's just now just Red Eye too, which is very interesting. Is that
he's in base factory mode. Bro.
Base factory mode.
Yeah.
And just to end out episode 6 here, not that this is the right image, but we end up with actually maybe that is
so
the right
big
image.
on her head.
Yeah, and Osha, Osha puts on the helmet, obviously giving off vibes of when Anakin has the helmet of Vader go on to the Revenge of the Sith, and that whole kind of vibe. The fact that you can barely see out of the mask itself, the whole fighting technique, which is erratic, is I guess Sith erratic. The way Chimera fights with it. But I also was kind of like, okay, they hinted obviously towards the idea that this does block out other outside thoughts to Jedi who might try to, connect or focus, the Force on whoever is wearing it, which I thought was, it's very Magneto of it, but at the same time, I believe that's also part of the comics and the books as well, in the Legends, from what I understand. My big thought was, do we think that Osha's going to get the connecting story through May, which we know into episode 7, is being told to her by Soul? And do we think that Osha and May are going to have that connection of just being the one through the two of them, and she's going to learn the story at the same time, is my thought at the end of this episode, of what happened, of the events of what happened in episode 7 at least. So, any thoughts on that at all?
I think Chimera might tell her what happened, or she might remember kind of what happened.
We did get both of their perspectives, though. So I don't think Osha never knew, what was going on.
Yeah, honestly, I really I don't know what's gonna happen in the end. No, I feel like he's gonna probably be left off with a cliffhanger. I don't know. I
think Leslie said that all the major questions we have will be answered.
Yeah. I have read that.
I'm just wondering because that big old question, especially like episode 7, is like how they said multiple times that they are one that were split into two.
Yes,
Divergence. Yeah. So
Well, let's jump into episode 7 then, guys. A lot of people did not like episode 7. I thought there were some things about it myself that kind of worked really well, and there were some things that didn't quite work really well. So I want to get each of your thoughts on episode 7, and let me know what you thought.
I think the fight was good. Me personally, I feel like it was a little underwhelming. I feel like Torben for sure. Whatever, him just wanting to go home, I don't think it was worth him killing himself. I feel like if anything, it was kill Naka. I feel like if anything, kill Naka almost literally killed Torben. So he should be the one feeling that guilty. But
he did. He self whatever.
He wanted to self exile.
Self isolation. Exile. Exile.
He was a mad claw. It's against Wookiee culture to use your claws as a weapon.
Oh yeah.
So for Kilnaka, I understand that, but for Torben, I don't.
That was a good thing. I was just like, all the stuff that you guys are guilty. This is all the stuff you're guilty about. Like you guys didn't really do anything that bad.
It was Cora most of the. She was the one instigating it.
It was. I hate to say it, but it was Soul. And I was like,
yes, bro.
Coral and Soul Soul. Like, his kind of thing was like more just like reflex. Though, like some crazy witch doing some magic power next to you. Like that's your reflex. Like that's what he's trained to do.
Yeah.
Someone right next to him looks like to him like is about attacking. That's his reflex. He's going boom boom.
He should have. I would have used.
And he instantly was like, "Oh no!"
He gutted her.
Oh yeah, with this moment right here, yeah. Well, let's talk about this moment, because a lot of people who either had not watched the Clone Wars or didn't know enough about the Night Sisters and the idea that characters like Mother Townsend in the Clone Wars would become evaporation of energy at some point and would move around in that form, and presumably died at one point, and she just evaporated into that energy, but then she came back again. So it's just a power of Night Sister magic, and I know that these are not Night Sisters, they are an offshoot of the idea of the Night Sisters, which I was what intrigued me more than anything in episode 3 about these witches. I really love the concept of the Night Sisters in general, but to actually see another culture that is based off of them, but have got their own almost peaceful, I want to say peaceful kind of lore about them. They don't want to bother anybody, and they don't want to be bothered by anybody. They are isolationists.
Kind of in their own pocket,
yeah.
They seeked out an abandoned planet to just in their own fortress to have roads to don't leave. It was like they're trying to stay themselves isolated.
Yeah. But going to this scene here, we see this moment where Mother Elisa transforms.
That scene looks crazy.
It was such a great little moment. And then also on top of it, you start to see May starting to disappear. And my original thought was, this is a mother protecting her child by just simply trying to swoop her up and get her out of the danger. And of course, Soul did the Soul thing, which seems to be also an interesting perspective of how the Jedi, of this time period are kind of like
dummy heads.
Dummy heads, yeah. That didn't go to it. It's this.
I wasn't really thinking that. It's more just like reaction on my part, because he instantly, you could see the regret instantly.
Yeah, they act first, and then it's like you should react first. You should react and then act on it. It's cause and effect. But they're just like, oh, he sees her turning. I would have pushed her away or blew something. I wouldn't have just igniting my lightsaber.
I just do that.
I
think that's just
he thought that was Osha too. He didn't even think it was May.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. Yeah, exactly. Soul did call out for Osha, not May, even though it was May. And there was this element about Soul and his kind of obsession almost of wanting to own a Padawan and why this had to be it. I don't know if that's going to be an obsession that gets answered in next week's finale. I feel like it needs a little bit of respect towards that question, because these are not the way we kind of expect Jedi to be. And Jedi are like anybody, they can mess up, but these are some massive mess ups to happen, to be covered. Which I like the concept of. I mean, I've had a totally different outpour of what I thought of Soul after this episode, because I really saw this different version of that character up until this week. And so it also makes me question what's going to happen and where is he going to take this in the last episode. I
was going to say too, like, after how he reacted to the whole situation in killing Mother Anastasia, when you look back on the other episodes, you see how that affected how he is, because he even tells Yord, like, do not let fear cloud your judgment, and that's exactly what he did. Also too, when he's fighting May, he does not touch his lightsaber at all. Like, even the first Jedi we see in the Acolyte that doesn't instinctively reach for their lightsaber. So
kind of like learn. He took that, like, it's still, you can see like he still has that in his head what he did that night. Like that's his kind of like PTSD from that night. Like they all have their own trauma or like kind of like different ways of coping with that night, and kind of souls.
And even back on like episode 1, First of all, I'd like to give Indara an apology because I totally thought she was evil, but she was like the only one with.
Me too. I threw that one out the door when I realized
she was the only level-headed one. But hey, you guys remember what I said though, because Mother Korra is still alive. She faded away. Sure. Remember what I was saying? Remember what she might be behind everything? Imagine it still could be possible.
Possible.
I hope so, because I want to say I told y'all so badly.
Okay, fair enough. No, I want to be told so.
Yeah, but I mean, even May on that first episode, she's like, "Fight me," and then Indara's like, "The Jedi don't attack the unarmed," and she goes, "Yes, I do, because I literally saw Soul kill one." So now going back on everything, it's like, oh, shoot, man.
Yeah. She was literally the only level-headed one that whole episode.
Yeah,
which is
let's go to the council.
Absolutely, totally.
Soul's like, no, we got to get Osha. We got to get Osha.
Yeah. No, I thought I mean Carrie-Anne Moss played it incredibly well, and almost. I mean, obviously very different to what we saw, and we didn't see much of her in the first episode, but it was like her skills are all there, but she was very cut off from the world. And I think that's what, everything happened to her was she was just simply cut off. Even though she was there, she was not there. Mm-hmm. And her skills remained, all because of this incident. And I thought that was kind of a great thing to see. Jumping back again, because I didn't quite get the chance to say what I was going to say here, but there was a lot of people that kind of were surprised about this whole magical, misty, disappearing witch kind of thing. And obviously, to me, it was pretty obvious because of the Night Sister stuff. Mm-hmm. But as an introduction to people, who may not have seen Ahsoka, because they did use a little bit of that, obviously, when
Clone Wars,
and Clone Wars and all that sort of stuff. I feel like within this episode, they should have made Anissa or Coral or some of them at least do a little bit of drifting in and out in that form prior to this moment, so that people just weren't so surprised. That's my only thought. By watching other people's reactions and stuff like that, and people were kind of generally confused. Even people who'd watched the Clone Wars, they'd forgotten the fact that Mother Talzin does do that mystical.
Yeah, she does it all the time.
Yeah, and they just simply forgot. And I feel like that was one of those moments that people might have either needed a reminder or an explanation to.
But did they say that in the episode? I forgot who it was, but I think it was Torben. Was like, oh, they're not Night Sisters or something like that. Did they called it out in the episode? Do you guys recall it?
Correct. They do, yes. Right at the beginning when they're sitting there. Actually, it was, Torben did say they're Night Sisters, and they mentioned that whole little piece.
Yeah, he said they're not Night Sisters.
But the power of what they do, I think, needed to be expressed visually. I think a perfect place that they could have done that was right at this moment when Anissa was inside Torben's head. I mean, to have her pop... rather than just having her appear behind him, just to have had that little bit of mystical thing. I really respect and love this scene. I thought it was a great moment to see what it was like to see how Night Sister magic worked inside somebody's head, especially a Jedi. And I don't think we've ever seen that in Star Wars, how you see, I could be wrong, on that one, but how they can get into somebody's mind, and we never really have seen that from memory. So...
I think comics or something. Probably we've seen
maybe in the comic.
Because I think Night Sisters got into Sabine and
right, but you never saw it actually inside. Yeah, you saw them. You saw them possessed, but you never actually saw them from this point of view, from the inside of their head, as their mind was being slowly broken down and diminished.
I just think that the I mean, I like the scene, but I think Torben's cause, like him just wanting to go home. I didn't like. I think that was. I don't like. It's like. They should have did like something like him loving somebody or something like that, or use something that Jedi are not supposed to be able to do. Just him going home, him being homesick. That's why he's just rational.
Bored. He's just bored collecting plants.
He's a teenager, which is. Yeah. It also goes back to that whole training thing I talked about earlier about the Padawans and stuff like that. They are a very different taught Padawan. There is no real... The discipline that we'd expect from a Padawan at that young age, or by that age at least, is not quite all there. I mean, we see that little bit of we kind of see it in Ahsoka, because when Ahsoka's like 14 years old and she is a bit bratty too.
Yeah, she snips.
So does it come?
She also does have like Anakin as her master. So.
Sure, no, exactly, yeah.
Captain Rex as her freaking number one too.
I know.
But there was some stuff that went on between Torben and Indara at the end there that I was like, there was just some there was just some really great moments that were going on between Torben and Indara, and it was just like once he had failed his master and just pretty much did everything she told him not to do, I kind of got the feeling how that was obviously the path he took to, again, isolating himself and going into full training. Because, my God, what a skilled lightsaber fighter that guy was.
Yeah, he was, man.
Bro.
Yeah, fighting off like just the arrow shooters, just taking out the arrows as a defense mechanism.
Yeah, he's a good fighter.
Yeah,
but I think I can see that. I think that the witch getting into his head probably messed him up so much that he went to in a retreat where he was like, "I never let anybody get in my headspace again." Sure, and that's when he like mentally fortified himself, because he even said he was like, my mind is sound, I'm fortified," and then they ended up getting Kilnaka. But I'm pretty sure that's how he after this whole ordeal, he was probably just like, "I'm gonna go into like training and just make my mind stronger."
No, it's gonna get in my head because I'm locking myself in my head.
Twice, right? Here, before they walked in, he was meditating, and outside, he was also meditating. So he'd already started, they showed and dropped those little hints that he was in meditation mode, that he was not going to let that happen again.
But how did it be? I'm still trying to figure out how he became a master, though. If he was meditating.
Within 6 years? Yeah. Again, it's interesting. Yeah. He went from Padawan to a master. There's got to be a good story there. I don't know if we'll get to see that in the future, but I just thought it was definitely an interesting thing there. But at the same time, I do agree. I feel like I don't know what could have made it. I think more time and more development could have made his choices later in life more impactful and more of a reason. I think that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah. He has to... Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like he for sure. I mean, but honestly, it's like you're a Padawan and the witches get into your head like this. I'm pretty sure that's his first encounter with witches. Yeah. So I mean, I would go like I would make sure my mind is sound as well.
Yeah.
But but the fight with Kilnaka and them was pretty sick. Kilnaka, man, that boy was over there tossing them, bro. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I had to gang up and stop.
Who would not freak out seeing this coming at you? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, no. I love Wookiees so much.
Wookiee Jedi is just the most frightening thing that I could ever imagine coming towards me.
I'm not that big of a fan of Wookiees, to be honest. I'm not
really?
even a captain, guys. I'm not that big of a fan. It's just I don't really like animals like that. Maybe that's why. I'm not that big of a
Animals.
You're a cat person, not a dog person.
I'm a cat. I like cats, but I don't know. I've never really been into like Chewbacca and.
Really?
Not really.
Never met a Wookiee before.
No, I never met him, but I never really been. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all.
I was gonna say, someone pointed out, that really cool slow-mo shot of Soul kind of launching and avoiding. Yeah, that
one.
They said that his lightsaber was ignited, but he actually turned it off because he knew that if he swung, he would have.
Yeah, he would have killed him probably.
At that moment.
Interesting.
Cool
yeah.
Seeing him change his mind and like kind of just turning it off at that moment.
Yeah.
Soul is OP, man. Soul is strong.
Yeah. Although the stunts were good in this episode, I still think that they had some better ones in episode 5. But this was still a nice little fight. Hello, Kay. How's it going? Naps with Wookiees are the best. Yeah. Naps with Wookiees? Oh, yes. That's a good Solo reference. curling up on a Wookiee is like, yeah. I can't remember the exact line, but I thought it was a great line. But yeah, I mean, it was really... Sorry?
I was going to say, it really makes sense why we saw all those coven symbols in Working Class and Kofar, because it's like probably residual spirits or just residual memory of what...
Well, it could have been that. There's something else interesting too. Now, I mean, again, I was just taken out a little bit from the moment that Indara jumped in and severed that connection. Obviously, and although it made sense, I'm still trying to understand how the backlash did actually end up by killing all of the Coven there in a single hit.
That's the part that confused me too. It was just he does the thing to like kick them out of his mind, and then just all drop dead.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think I have to do
in case you say essence transfer. Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah, that like their souls or essence, like they say, kind of was just lost into the nothingness.
Yeah, it makes sense. But the other thing also that could have happened as a possibility is that a lot of their minds got trapped in Kalnaka on that separating their body. That also could be representation of why he isolated himself, kept on having the symbols and stuff like that, and drawing too is another possibility. So there's definitely reasoning to it. I just felt that I didn't, Indara is strong, but to have that kind of strength to take out a greater force like that, I'd like to know what that training is all about. And again, I think that's one of those little pieces of information that didn't delve enough into, and it's not like I want to be hand-fed explanations on everything, but I feel like I want to be hinted that this character is not just, older and wiser than the rest of the Jedi, but she might have, focused on some of her force training in that area of expertise. And it's a force skill I don't think we've seen. Being able to sever a connection of, something taken over the mind. Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah. And maybe they've never seen it, but I just thought it was a very abrupt moment, in it personally, at least, I thought.
Yeah. I would like to see how she did that, too. How she... severed that connection, and they all just died.
And it became a slightly weak excuse, I think, to do what they wanted it to do. Is my thing. So I think out of all the things in this episode, for me, that was the weakest point. That I get even in my reaction, I was like, oh, okay. I knew what it was doing, and I understood it. I just didn't. I needed more out of that moment to be stronger in that explanation, at least.
Another thing, though, too, that I kind of just thought of is, we see, at least we think, what Mother Anasea was doing was transferring May from point A to point B to get her safe. My thoughts are maybe they were just knocked out, and Coral maybe moved the Coven and put them into hiding someplace else.
KG just said that. Maybe they're all passed out. But then I think it's episode 3, who was it walking? Osha or May, and seeing all the dead bodies on the floor?
Yes.
Yeah. But they weren't
it was Osha when she was escaping. There were
the whole unconscious bodies.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that, again, it doesn't mean they were dead. There is something, this is not really it might be a semi-spoiler, but I think that Leslie Headland has kind of hinted that we may not have seen the last of Mother Cora. And it feels like that we are going to get certain explanations in there, but I don't know if they're going to go to the depth that we need as to the rest of the Covenant and that sort of stuff too. So,
speaking of Mother Coral,
Brent,
I know that a couple of weeks ago you had pointed out that shot of Coral looking up into the things that were kind of sparking, and we see exactly what she felt. In this episode, in this most recent episode, she knew that.
Yep, I've got that right in here.
As soon as I saw that, I thought of you.
Yeah, Coral's point of view. Yeah, I knew that was the... I think I even said that's the start of it. I think this was the start of when they realized something was wrong. At the time, we didn't know it was just the Jedi. It was, I think I predicted...
Well, you thought someone was sabotaging or something,
Right, yeah. Yeah.
It looks like that big old fire was really just May.
Right.
Which is
well,
crazy.
Let's talk about that just for a second there. So actually, kind of even stepping back, we do have a moment where Coral is actually trying to teach May, and that kind of breeds into and builds up her anger. You see that she walks away with that intense anger from there, and that's when it goes into the whole, May burning the book, but then loses complete control of it, obviously. And, I was a little confused, did that fire start everything? And they made it evident here that sparks coming out of the electrical system, that it just went through the electrical system like a house on fire, basically. And it's acceptable. It's a little weird to have such a great big, straight through thing, but it also they set it up at the beginning. This is an old build, an old structure that had
mining facility.
Yeah, mining facility. Yeah. So it was old. It was before, and actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm taking it back again. But there was mention of the Great Hyperspace Disaster, which was part of it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, like, book readers, woo! Light of the Jedi. I was excited to hear that.
Yeah.
Really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kay. I appreciate it. You see it.
But yeah, there was this whole. I like that they actually put that. I mean, even though I don't read the books, I'm aware of the hyperspace disaster. I didn't know exactly the details, but it was interesting, obviously, that a spaceship broke apart in hyperspace and did damage to a whole line of planets, rendering this planet inert. And it obviously, from the architecture we've seen around there, it was a once lived in place. The Night Witches moved in after that point in time, and recreated life to the planet. And I have another theory about that. I don't know if anyone wanted. I wanted to jump back to the opening scene. Yeah. We see on the planet, we see this actually at the beginning of episode 3, a different version of the temple. This is a Jedi temple, in my opinion, right?
You think so?
Looks very much so like what we saw in Tython.
Oh, good point. Yeah, exactly. It does. It also could represent the Night Witches, because the Night Witches. But then this is an ancient piece, so I want to say it could be Jedi.
Yeah. So we've seen a whole bunch of like different types of temples and that have been lost, like history, like the one on in Rebels, like Lothal.
Sure.
It's just a rock. It's just like rocks, and then you have to lift it up and twist it, and then it becomes like and then you go inside of it. Yeah,
it was even like that on what was that, Boba Fett? When what was it, Boba Fett or Mandalorian? When Grogu did it.
Yes, Tython. Yeah,
it was kind of like that. Yeah, when they were on Tython.
That's like during this time, Jedi were stationed. Well, not during this time, but during like 100 years before, during Phase 1.
Yeah.
Jedi were stationed at a lot of planets, so it's very possible that this is one of their.
Could just be like an abandoned temple,
So that leads me to also say a lot of the planets that the Jedi did actually connect to had a very, very familiar cave, and we saw that obviously in Dagobah with the tree and the cave. We also saw it obviously on Oktar in the Rise of The Last Jedi. But my thing and my question here is, because of the whole idea of the myth and the mystic, element of the twins, is this pit that same cave? Mm-hmm. Is this the pit that created life? They were able to generate life back? Because it seems like the central point that they are going to. We also got mention of a sacrifice going here. And were they going to sacrifice the kids? And it doesn't make sense. But what was that sacrifice supposed to be when they were anointed?
I think it was May misinterpreting what Mother Anastasia had said, because I think what Anastasia had initially said was that everyone has to sacrifice a part of himself.
Yeah. Okay.
A part of the ascension, and then when May repeated it back to the Jedi, she said someone needs to be sacrificed, and that. Miscommunication, I think was
maybe I mean, okay, so we've been getting a lot of hints saying that that they're supposed to be one and the same being. So maybe what if I forgot what show or where this is from, but what if one of them dies or something like that, then their essence goes, like they become one again. and
right,
and it makes them like
whole basically.
Yeah, makes them whole. So say if May died and Osha would get she would be complete again, and she would be more OP. I feel like
I was kind of
something's
like thinking.
something's
you
gonna
finish.
happen.
Yeah, finish. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like I want if you have anything else, Angela, because I that's what I'm kind of thinking that might happen. I want to see what you guys
what I was thinking is like, after like, because like during the entire like ascension, like they're both gonna get branded, and it seems like by the pins, everything.
Yeah.
So it seems like probably like, what if like they both brand them and like they kind of like sacrifice them into the pit, but then they reemerge, they ascend.
Right.
Because it's called the ascension. They ascend as like recombined as one person again, and like how they're kind of hinting like I still get pronouncing her name, but like the other mother, not Coral. Her it's kind of like their reincarnation. Anastasia. Yeah. Like they kind of like are her reincarnation, kind of.
Yeah, or they can just
they're your leaders,
or emergence.
They do
like they kind of
well, I think that could be what the helmet could be, though. I mean, maybe the helmet, Kamiya's helmet, is that because
I don't think Cortosis is that. I don't think Cortosis.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I don't think
Cortosis is good. Though, because like if Mother Anastasia said it's you have to sacrifice a part of yourself, it would make sense for the two to become one, because you're still yourself, but you're also not.
Right.
Because even also what they mentioned earlier too, like how like I forgot what the exact word they said, but they said like how like their like internal whatever things are like exactly the same. They say even for twins, it should be different.
Yeah.
I forgot the word they.
There, I forgot what they said.
Basically,
they said they said exactly the same. And even if they're identical twins, they should be different.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, they should. Exactly. Yeah, either the Force, the Metachlorians, or the M count. I mean, we got the we got the word metachlorine for the first time since the prequels in the Bad Batch season 3, because it is Ventress who actually says it, and I'm completely fine with that. They've jumped back to the M count in the live action. I'm like,
I don't know why,
especially in this time period, they should be.
I like metachlorians. I like the metachlorians.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that word.
Yeah.
The twins are very unstable while they're separate, and that much is evident. And become one, that's when they're going to reach their potential.
So who do you guys want at the helm? Me personally, I hope Osha dies and then May becomes the one at the helm. I feel like May's a way more interesting character.
I feel like sorry. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's like, May's the more interesting character, but that's probably gonna see like she's gonna like sacrifice herself like to make sure Osha survives or something, because Osha is the main character. Like, May is also like also a main character, but Osha is like the main. In my opinion, at least, like she's not the best character in the show, but she kind of like she is the main in my opinion.
Right.
See, okay, there's also this Star Trek episode. I know Star Trek.
No, yep, go for it.
It's called Tuvix, and in the transporter, two characters mesh, and there's a mix-up in one. And so this new character is essentially totally something different from Tuvok and Neelix. So that's also possible. We could get someone completely new.
We see that even in the film The Dark Crystal. If you've ever seen the Jim Henson film Dark Crystal, two energies or two different creatures eventually merge into one as a new transference kind of thing. So it's definitely in there in history and in storytelling and legend and stuff like that. So that might be the way they're going. As for who I think might die, I feel like that Soul's fate is tied to May. May was the last one. May saw Soul kill her mother, and the fact that Soul is the last surviving member of the 4 Jedi, I feel like he's the one that will be taken down last, and I feel like that it'll be a situation that May's going to take him down, but may even die in that process. If that's the case, then there's this element of, obviously they're going for Osha. They're trying to track her down, and I feel like that. I don't know I just don't know how this is going to end up. But I think that could be the way that this could happen, and I feel like Osha will be a surviving element, but at the same time, she will have gained that full dark, that dark side of the Force by that point.
A Khmer comic book would be tight, Chris. A Khmer comic book would be tight. I for sure hope that the episode is like an hour long. I feel like to answer all the questions, like what happens to Osha, what happens to May, what happens to Soul, what happens with the High Council. Like, is Yoda gonna show up? Like, whoever it has to be. There's so much different storylines that's going on that we have to address in one episode. It has to be. If I see the episode and it's like 40 minutes, I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a little upsetting.
It's gonna be another just cram everything into the final. It's like a Ahsoka finale. It's just cram everything into one final thing, and it's just like 30 minutes. It's like
Do you think that Osha turned to the dark side? I don't think she's actually turned yet, but I think she's definitely the Acolyte.
Tempted. Getting tempted.
Yeah, she's getting tempted. I feel like
I hope she's Acolyte.
Yeah, I kind of do too, because I feel like that, because I would say if season 2 does get picked up, I think it's time to not deal with the Jedi as part of the main story. The Jedi obviously have to be this diversive, intersection there of for how these characters develop and where they come from, in my opinion. But I feel like we could just go on with Kamea, Osha, or May, or both, or however that plays out, and just follow a different story and just focus on the Sith. I would like to see a lot more of that in future stories myself.
I think it'll probably be a comic. Me personally, I don't think it's going to be a second season. There's too much discourse, but I mean,
it definitely is. Yeah,
I know Kilnaka's getting a comic. I hope they make it. And I would wish they had a Khmer show. Oh man, I think it might be a one shot.
I think it's just a one shot. I think it's but usually if it's a one shot, it's usually going to be like a double issue or something. So it's going to be not a double size issue.
I want a Khmer show. If they can do a Khmer show, that would be sick. Because he's for sure the most interesting. He's always the bad guy.
Absolutely. No, you're right. But the villain can be the most interesting and compelling character.
I've been saying this for a while, and just kind of going back to like the Osha thing too. I mean, May never really put her trust in anything from the start. I think Osha is the only one that has something to get her dreams crushed by, and we're going to see that in the next episode.
Yeah, I feel like that May definitely has potential of taking down Sol, though, and I feel like that, for this whole story to end properly and for Vanessa to kind of like have no final evidence of anything, that Sol has to die by the end of next week's episode. It feels like it's going in that direction. If it doesn't, I'd be curious to see how it plays out. But again, Leslie Headland has said that she has tied off a lot of the main elements to end the show, that if this ever just became the one-off show, although she hopes to do a second, third, and fourth season, she's mentioned in interviews, that this would be at least a ending that would tie those loose ends up, at least most of them, kind of thing. But I'm also fine with leaving stuff open enough to them to explore in comics and books and
but like
animation.
I think before we get an actual like comic of like the show, we're just gonna get what they've been doing with all the Disney Plus shows. They're gonna release the comic form of the show, which they've been. They did for the Mandalorian. They did for Obi-Wan. I think the only one that haven't done it for is Book of Boba Fett and like Bad Batch and like.
Right. Yeah.
But for the live action stuff, like all the live action shows have been, and Andor too. Yeah, but like. Mandalorian. So I know the Ahsoka one just started this week, I believe. They did an Obi-Wan one.
Where's it at? The comics? Do you know?
In your comic
just regular comic book
shop,
yeah.
Or one Marvel.
I stopped collecting comics a long time ago. I've got other addictions.
Or if you know the certain sites,
12-inch figures.
Did you guys hear about Abeloth being in Ahsoka season 2?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That's gonna be sick.
Nice. Okay, I didn't. I've been kind of avoiding the rumors and stuff like that.
Spoiler.
That's cool. That's all right. I'm sure we'll learn stuff. I'm sure.
We don't know yet, though.
There is.
It's been a rumor. Yeah, just a rumor.
Yeah.
I was going to say for the 8th episode though, like I actually also genuinely think because I really don't think we're going to see a final match between May and Sol. If anything, I think it might be between Osha and Sol, but even more out there, I think it's going to be between May and Osha, because if May does want to finish Sol off, I think Osha, learning what she has known, is going to have to struggle with her decision to either save Sol or fight her sister. And I think that also might be a very cool possibility because we see the twins fighting each other.
We definitely have multiple possibilities in our future final episode of next week. That's for sure. I did want to also add one other interesting thing, and this comment I think was either from Revenge of the Sith, might have been Attack of the Clones, I cannot remember. But this moment where Yoda's like too sure of themselves they are, even the older, more experienced ones, referring to the Jedi. Basically, the fact that this started, 100 years earlier, that the Jedi were kind of becoming more, too sure of themselves, basically, and making these kinds of mistakes.
Uncomfortable, yeah.
Uncomfortable, yeah. And there's a lot of things going on there that I think that the showrunner has taken into expression of certain things. And I guess a certain amount of this obviously has been taken from a certain point of view. We definitely got a very certain point of view from the Jedi's point of view in this episode. And they were very much trying to balance off and round off a story that they had to tell to kind of, not get themselves in trouble. That became also a political statement at the same time, with not trying to get the Jedi bogged down in Senate problems and all this sort of thing. So you've got these elements starting to happen here that we see fulfill themselves by the time we get to the prequels.
Yeah, even when Mother Anastasia says your noble intentions will be the death of every Jedi or something like that.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
Yeah, did she just call out Order 66? Is that what she?
I think she was calling out Qui-Gon, trying to train Anakin because he was obsessive, the same way that Soul is.
With me. 100%.
Anakin was pretty brought on Order 66 in a way.
Right. At the end of the day, I'm personally enjoying the show. This episode for me, episode 7, was not as strong as episode 3. And again, I say that because I really enjoyed seeing this new culture from episode 3 of the Night Witches. I think I enjoyed that more than anything, kind of thing. So, your final thoughts on the episode, guys?
I know though. I was alright. It was cool. Yeah, I've been thinking about this lately, but I think honestly, in my opinion, I think it would have been cool if they did. I would say more like a faction of gray Jedis instead of witches.
No. Gray Jedis, they can't be. They cannot exist.
Why?
Because gray Jedi. This is.
Well, so many people like Revan. People like Revan. They're like people. Revan, I would say, is he's in the middle. He's both dark and he was a Jedi,
but not at the same time, really.
But not at the same time.
You know what?
It's like
I'm gonna have to find it. There's a very fantastic piece right back when the Clone Wars is going on, and there's an interview with Dave Filoni, and he's talking about the concept of why gray Jedi do not work. In the form of George Lucas's vision of what the Jedi are, and
dark Jedi,
and I can't dark Jedi or that sort of stuff is one thing. A dark Jedi is a Jedi that is corrupted. A Sith is a already corrupted character, but a gray Jedi can't exist. And I can't remember the exact words he used, but it nailed it perfectly to me to understand why the gray Jedi should never be a thing in the Star Wars universe. Because the Jedi actually, to be gray means you've already been corrupted and you've already started to be corrupted, which means you're heading towards the dark side of the Force. And so you can't exist as a gray Jedi, or the Jedi could never exist in that term or that exact word of gray Jedi. Because
it's either one or the other.
Yeah, it's either one or the other, because you can't just start going dark and then suddenly turn back. You're more and more corrupted at that point to be going darker.
But then Mace used the dark side too to amplify. Well, he'll get stronger against it.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, Mace Windu?
Oh, I think you said May.
Oh, I thought you said May. I thought you said
Mace. Yeah.
Mace. Mace is stronger. Like the stronger the dark side, he'll tap into the dark side, and that's why he was so strong.
Luke used the dark side of the Force when he force choked the Gamorrean guards. I mean, that's a dark side, element right there. But then that was also the hint, is that the audience wasn't to know whether Luke was going to go to the dark side or not at the end of Return of the Jedi, and that's the way Lucas had set that up. So
and like we've seen like Jedi's, like they take the stuff from the Sith, sometimes using like her whip too. That's the dark side weapon that she just repurposed and made it her own kind of version of it.
But at the end of the sorry.
I was going to say, and to be gray means to suggest that your mind is convoluted, which also means that's not something, that's not part of the Jedi code.
That's not part of the Jedi, you can't be both, and control both. You either are Jedi going dark, which means that you are already on that path to the dark side, or you're completely good. But it is nice to see in this particular episode that the Jedi are completely fallible. And that was all based on emotion. It was Torben's emotion of wanting to go home. It was Saul's emotion of wanting a Padawan that he felt he deserved. And so you've got
I wonder how they got
elements.
Konaka. I wish I would have just seen for him.
What do you mean? Oh,
I wonder. Yeah, because we've seen how Anasea was in Torben's mind. I wonder what they.
Sure.
That
is sweet. Yeah,
I wonder what they did for Konaka. Yeah. Maybe it might be in a one shot.
But here's the thing, like, I mean, I kind of question was Coral part of that? I don't think she was. She
did.
Yeah, it was the rest of the convent at the time. So, but that's a lot of convent to take over Karnaka there.
But he had to be somewhat self-aware of the outside world to have known that he was using his claws and whatnot, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Because like how we've seen like in when Cora was when Anastasia was using it to Torben, like he was like she like made him like kneel, and like we kind of see like his actions in like that headspace is like reflecting into like the real world kind of. So maybe it was like they're all like trying to like gang up on him like in his mind. Yeah. He just got desperate and started swiping at them, and then is like, and then in the real life he just swiped at. He was kind of doing like that thing.
Illusions and stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're coming up on the end of the hour. We shall definitely get together next week and do the season finale. Hopefully not series finale, because I do want to see more, but I do want to see it go in a different direction by season 2. And I feel like that would be this is a setup that needed to happen, but I feel like we'd get some stronger story stuff in the future. Yeah. I personally am enjoying the show. There are a lot of people who are not enjoying the show, but it's no reason not to have, sensible and reasonable conversation about what they do like and what they don't like, what does work and what doesn't work. It is such a diverse show, unfortunately, and there's a lot of people that, obviously, as I said, don't like it. And as long as they can give a good enough reason, not just the fact that it's bad and it sucks and it's terrible.
And it's Disney.
And it's Disney, yeah. And granted, yes, that is a big part of it. But I feel like that there still can be, intelligent conversation taken into account to explain why people do like it and why people don't like it. I enjoy it. The kid in me enjoys seeing, all these moments of the Jedi. And my biggest thing has always been seeing other races, how they deal with the Force. And I'm getting that in plenty. This is honestly one of my more favorite of the TV shows in the Disney era that have been done. Because I'm getting stuff that I personally have wanted to see on a personal level. And because it's personal to me, I'm enjoying it a lot more than others are. And hopefully that becomes, I'm getting a lot of, flack from people leaving comments on our reaction video that we did for the episode. And it's like, how can you enjoy this crap? And I'm just like, well, I'm enjoying it because I'm allowing myself to let go of the negativity. It doesn't mean I don't see it. I understand. I see what works and I see what doesn't work. But when something doesn't work, I'll sit there and criticize it, but I'm not going to say that the whole show is a piece of trash because of it. You've got some amazing performances by amazing actors. You've got some really beautiful, as much as Andor was beautiful, I think there's some beautiful stuff that we're seeing in location and set construction and props and costumes in this show too. I think we're getting a lot of that, That's my thought anyway.
Kind of like what Case said. I was just saying, like the speculation. I really enjoyed the speculation part. That was like, I always like this
Oh,
mystery theory.
absolutely, yeah. That's it, and that's also part of the entertainment of a show, of being able to go from week to week and go, what happens next? Are we right? Are we wrong? You know.
I feel like that's what everyone loved about WandaVision when it first came out too.
Sure.
It was one of those shows where every week you're like, what's gonna happen next?
Oh yeah, where's Mephisto?
Yeah, I know, right?
That was the big thing. Everybody thought it was Mephisto, but at the same time, people do hype up in their own minds about what they think should be happening, and when they don't get it, they become angry and upset and bitter. And at the end of the day, it's not your show and your story to tell; it is the showrunners, and you know. If they mess up along the way, so be it. But
to me, it's especially being somebody that like is a creator. Like I create, creating my story and stuff like that. I would never like if I don't like something, I would never dog on them because everybody put in blood, sweat, and tears on whatever they're doing. So it's just like I feel like that's it's disrespectful for people to say. It's like you don't have to agree with it, but people put in a lot of work on this.
Absolutely.
So like, I wouldn't just shit on what they did. So yeah, that's my opinion on stuff.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll finish it there. Everybody in chat who joined us tonight, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. I love all the questions.
Chris and Kay, deuces.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll be bringing episode 8 next week and checking it out and sitting down and talking about it. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe, and we will be doing other content in the future, I'm sure. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. We'll catch you all later.
See ya.